Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another Brotato Danger 5 random run, where we take two random characters, combine them using the GMO mod, grab a random weapon, and try to beat Danger 5 with it. Hope you're all doing well. As always, let's try to see what we get using the wheel, since the random button doesn't work with the GMO mod. So, we're gonna roll here, and we've got the bull, which obviously means that a random weapon is probably not on the agenda, since we won't be able to equip a weapon. But let's see what is being combined with the bull. We have... Oh, this is going to be really weird. Okay, Pacifist bull. I do not know if this is at all possible. But we're going to give it a shot and see kind of what happens. So the bull has a bunch of defensive stats and then explodes whenever you take damage, but the pacifist has minus 100% damage output, so we may not be able to actually kill anything. Now, the reason that I say that this might be very difficult is that as the defensive stats, of course, are good for pacifist, but the pacifist usually needs to knock enemies away from itself, and we will not have that option. So since we won't be able to kill anything, I guess there's no chance I kill the tree, right? Actually, maybe we can. We can get the 8-hit pity rule. That's actually cool that we can kill the tree just by getting hit enough. I guess we'll take the boxing glove. We will still increase our explosion damage, and if I get some percentage damage, then we can use the actual damage output that we're getting here. And then let's roll. I'm looking for harvesting. If I can find that, that'll be really important. I'll roll one more time, I think, because harvesting's so important, and then we'll take an armor. So, like I said, the reason that I think that this could be much more difficult than it might seem, because you might think pacifist with a bunch of regen and armor is going to be an easy win, is that the pacifist usually needs knockback to avoid just constantly taking damage. Without that, we may struggle. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. It might also just be very easy. I'm honestly not sure, and I'm looking forward to finding out. Take the injection here to try to get some positive damage output. If I can get my damage output to like a reasonable value pretty soon, then I think we're in very good shape. Baby Gecko, I'm not going to worry about yet. Let's roll here, and I'll definitely take a weird food. I need a ton of healing of all kinds, so we definitely want to improve our consumable healing. Cake is also going to be good because we'll need max HP. Got two things sticking out of our forehead here. The early waves should be pretty good, and I do still want to kill enemies even though I'm the pacifist. When you leave an enemy alive as the pacifist, you get 0.65 materials and XP, but if you kill an enemy, of course, you get 1 material and XP, so when you can, as the pacifist, it's better to actually kill enemies. Oh yeah, also the pacifist is supposed to have a lumberjack shirt, which we didn't have, so it took 8. For some reason, it didn't give us the lumberjack shirt, so that's why it took 8 hits to kill the tree there. I could take 2 melee damage, but we need percent damage before I worry too much about our base damage output, so let's roll here, and I'm still looking for harvesting. I will take 4 melee damage, though. There's a decent chance that we could increase our explosion damage pretty significantly. I'll lock the recycling machine, and then I'm going to re-roll. Definitely take a broken mouth. Toxic sludge is +2 damage, but again, we need percentage damage first, so I'm not going to spend money on that. Have to have so many bull explosions to kill anything here. Alright, so I need to wait for some regeneration. I don't yet have the healing to just be taking hits constantly. When you're playing the bull, what you want to do is stack enemies up so that you need the fewest explosions to kill stuff, and that way you get the most value out of your HP. I'm going to, again, reroll, still looking for harvesting. But I will take 6% movement speed. Movement speed is also an economy stat on this character because it can help us explode better, but also because we will need to run away from enemies. I will take the recycling machine here. An economy item early is going to be pretty good, and I'll take the mushroom as well. Lock that, and then reroll, and we'll grab another cake. I do want to boost my luck. Consumable healing is going to be very important for us, but with negative luck, you don't get as much of it. It is really funny that we didn't get the lumberjack shirt. And so how this works is that trees have a certain amount of HP, and you can kill them just by doing enough damage. But also there's a pity rule. If you hit a tree 8 times, no matter how much damage you're doing per hit, you do kill it. So if we stand on top of the tree and let all of these enemies hit us, we do still get to break them. I'll take the defective steroids here. Obviously, we don't care about our attack speed at all, and both HP and melee damage are pretty good. Here I'm going to reroll looking for harvesting. I would probably take percent damage as well. I think I'll take 10 luck also. Having positive luck is just so important on this character. We'll buy all of these items, and I can afford to buy all of them. The landmines could help us kill other things, but without the explosions, without the lumberjack shirt, it's a lot less useful, and we have minus 100 engineering. So we're not going to take the landmines here. We'll reroll. Leather vest I will still take. Mushroom we'll take. Crit chance is actually not terrible on the bull, because the bull has 1.5x critical damage. You can critically hit with this explosion, and you get 1.5x damage. But the amount of damage that you're going to be doing ends up so high that even a 1.5x explosion is still pretty good. But until I get some percent damage, it's just not that worth building that up. And I have reduced my percentage damage a little bit by buying items like the cake, and we're going to buy another. Because I can't actually kill anything, it's very possible for us to just get overwhelmed and just get stacked up on by a million enemies, which is part of why I think it's so important to invest in movement speed for this character. See if I can get back and hit this tree a few more times. Trying to count to 8 when it's we're stacked with a million enemies is pretty tough. But you can see we're starting to really fall behind in terms of income. We didn't get a lot of harvesting early, and the Pacifist passive is not making up for the amount of money we're losing by not actually killing anything. So I'll take 5 harvesting here, and then I am going to buy these items and do a reroll. Definitely taking a gentle alien. 5% damage is pretty important. I'm going to pass on saltwater. I just don't think we need it, and I'll roll again here and take a weird food. The claw tree, I think we'll still just pass on. This is one of those runs where I'm genuinely not sure how easy or how difficult it's going to be. Especially because we didn't get the lumberjack shirt from the Pacifist, which is actually slowing our economy quite a bit. Have to do a fair amount of dodging because I'm starting to lose some maximum, or starting to lose some health, and we're just not healing it fast enough. I just don't have the healing to fix that. Normally with the bull, killing this whole group of enemies would take 1 damage instance. You know, we would step on an enemy, it would blow them all up, and we'd be fine. But with this character, we need to take 1,000,000 points of damage before we kill anything. The dynamite will help a lot. Explosion damage is additive with our percentage damage, so that takes our damage percentage from minus 96% to minus 81%, which is obviously a big deal. That more than quadruples our damage output. I'm going to take the regen here, and then take 3 elemental damage for more base damage, but again, I think we can do better. Percent damage is so important. I would take the harvesting as well, but given that it's a level 2% damage, and we just need as much of that as we can get, I'm going to grab that. Here, we're going to take all the percent damage options, and then we'll take the weird food, and then roll. Penguin is pretty good for regeneration, and of course another dynamite is great. Whistle, I passed on before, because we weren't going to have the explosion damage to kill anything. But now that I've bought some percent damage, we actually explode for 21, so I think we can buy the whistle and start building this as a normal bowl build. Because now we can actually kill stuff. And I also think that my concern that this was going to be a difficult challenge was not particularly true. It turns out this is a more synergistic combo than I thought. All we had to do was just get a little bit of percent damage to solve the Pacifist problem, and we're just a bull build, which is a very strong thing to be. We can even, I think, kill trees in fewer than 8 hits now. I definitely want some more movement speed. Staying ahead of these enemies without being able to knock them backwards is still pretty difficult. So there is a loot alien here. I don't think I have the defensive stats, unfortunately, to be able to kill it. But as I continue to get more damage, we should be able to. Take an armor here. Let's reroll. 15 attack speed normally would be a great pick for any character, but not for this one. I'm going to take 7% crit chance. Like I said, critical hit chance can be pretty good for the bull, and especially because I'm getting another dynamite, which is going to spike my damage output significantly. I'm pretty happy buying crit chance. We'll take the sad tomato, we'll take the injection and the mushroom. Toxic sludge. I do want more base damage. Usually with the bull, it's most efficient to get it from melee damage, because your damage output scales equally on melee, ranged, and elemental damage. So you can buy any of those, but melee damage is half the cost of the other two damage types. So you will usually get way more melee damage for the same price. It's more efficient to do it that way. I think I'm going to pass on the Toxic Sludge and then just roll here. I don't really need either of those. Negative 100 engineering means we're just not going to go down that path. So now we do enough explosion damage that we actually kill enemies in just a couple hits. And also the fact that we have horde waves coming up is kind of nice. As the bull, elite waves are usually pretty easy because you can just run away. You have tons of healing and armor and everything, so you can just run away from the elite. And the bull usually doesn't die to elite waves, but you also usually don't kill them. So having horde waves helps with the economic boosts that those give you, even if neither boss wave is particularly threatening to the character. The horde wave was what I was worried about before we found a bunch of dynamites and percentage damage, because if we had gotten sort of overwhelmed by tons and tons of enemies, that could have been a real problem for this build. I'm going to take the silver bullet. We might be able to build up to eventually killing bosses, especially if I get another 12% damage upgrade. And then here, we're going to buy some more regen. We'll take a helmet. Lost Duck, I think, is worth grabbing. It does cost me base damage on the bull passive, but 8 luck is still really good when we have almost none, so we're going to take that. Adrenaline is worth taking as well. You might think that because we're the bull, you don't want to buy dodge, but dodge, the way that it works for this character, since we want to take damage, but the way that dodge works for this character is it just lets you get deeper into groups of enemies before the bull passive goes off, and the adrenaline will give us huge spikes of healing every time we dodge, so don't be afraid of buying dodge on the bull. Or Lich or Masochist, other characters that need to take damage. Don't worry. When you need to take damage, if you walk into a big group of enemies, it's going to happen no matter how high your dodge is. So, it's just not a big concern. Alright. Might be able to get a loot alien kill here, since now we've got some damage output. So, yeah, we were able to do that. And even without putting myself in too much risk of dying here. Let's see if we can kill this tree. The dynamites have just been incredible. So much percentage damage for this character, which is exactly what we needed. I think this run would be going a lot worse if we hadn't found double dynamite. That was very lucky. It is funny that the game didn't give us the lumberjack shirt, though. Bloodleech, we can't use lifesteal on this character at all, but it does give us regen, and as the bull, we get 50% more regen. I think 56 for 3 regeneration, and we lose 3 harvesting, is still an okay trade. We'll take a weird food as well. I am going to take 10 harvesting. I do want that to continue to give me just a smoother economy, and then we'll take some armor. Gonna drink some water. Adrenaline, we will definitely take for the reasons I talked about already. Adrenaline is a good reason to invest in dodge. Right now it doesn't do anything, but we get 5% dodge for not that expensive a rate, and now our dodge has a really strong upside as well. Roll here. Okay, we'll take the lumberjack shirt. We don't need it as much now, but it's still good. Since I am buying dodge, I'll take the feather. The ranged damage also boosts my bull damage output. Unfortunately, as the bull, you just can't take peacock. I guess we have 57 regen already, so maybe we can. You know what? Let's get a little greedy. I'll offset the XP loss from Feather by taking the Peacock. I'm going to have to be a little more careful this wave, but we have a lot of healing, so I think maybe we can get away with the extra damage, even on a character that has to take hits. We will kill fewer enemies this wave than we would otherwise, but those enemies will be worth a lot more since we have the bonus XP from the Peacock. And the other thing is that on the Pacifist, even if we kill fewer enemies, we still get the Pacifist passive. So we're going to get, and that will, the XP from that will be increased by the Peacock bonus. So we'll still get a bunch of experience, even if I take a lot of hits and can't afford to actually try to kill everything on the map. As is happening, of course. The weird foods that we've gotten have been really helpful. The amount of consumable healing that those have given us has been worth a lot. And we made a little less money this wave than we would otherwise, but got 3 levels, which is a great trade. We'll take the mushroom here. I'll take 10 luck. I think I will just take 10 more harvesting, and then I can kind of stop worrying about our economy at all. 33 harvesting is enough to carry us for the rest of the game, and then we'll take 12% damage here to try to keep improving that. Losing 3% damage, but gaining some crit chance on our 53 damage attack, I think is not worth it. It's close on the insanity there. Celery tea, I do want the XP gain. This isn't a horde wave. Enemy health being doubled means it will take us more hits to kill them, which is definitely a real downside, but I think we can still get away with the celery tea, and we'll take the campfire as well. The elemental damage, of course, increases our base damage output, and the regen is excellent. Ritual, 6% damage for 130, normally, and the lifesteal is useless, of course. Normally we wouldn't take this item, but on this character with negative % damage, we still want to spend money on that. Bean Teacher going into the Horde wave, we're going to actually have tons of XP gain on this character, which is great. And now I've got a little more % damage, so I can actually buy the Insanity as well. I think I'll still pass on the Toxic Sludge, though. There's just better ways to get base damage for the Bull just by buying melee damage, which is much cheaper. And I still want to build Dodge. So it now takes 2 hits to kill most enemies on the field. It would take 1 if we didn't have the Celery Tea this wave. But for a wave like this, Celery Tea isn't as bad because we're just stacking up groups of enemies anyways. So doubling their health for the Bull, which does entirely AoE damage, doesn't actually slow our clear speed that much, since all it means is that instead of killing 2 separate groups of enemies in 1 hit, we kill all of them at once in 2 hits. It still is a real penalty. You can't just take Celery Tea for free on this character, but it's a little less impactful than it might look at first glance. Now, I am taking a lot of hits here, and that's because of the Celery Tea, so I do have to run away from these Goblin Sharks, because they had a lot of health. So the Celery Tea cost me some money there, but the extra XP gain, I think, will still be worth it. I'm going to take the Snowball. This will add an elemental damage to every elemental item we find, and that will make those elemental items worth buying, so I think it is worth it. I could take 1 armor here, and I think I will. I could reroll for something better, but armor's so good for this character, I'm still just happy to take it. Take a spicy sauce, I do need more max HP, and this is even more explosion damage, and then I'll roll. Wisdom is not terrible for this character. I definitely want the mouse and the shady potion, and I think we will take the wisdom as well. Enemies will often be stacking up in large groups, since we want to wait until we've healed back to full from our sad tomato, and wait until enemies are stacked on top of each other before we start hitting them anyways. So the first 5 seconds of the wave or so, we're not doing any damage, so the downside of the wisdom is quite reduced, and the upside is still present, so wisdom tends to synergize very well with the bull. I would love Jerky. That would be a huge upgrade to our survivability, because it would give me a lot more healing every time I pick up one of these consumables. We're often picking them up when we're at or near full health, and so I would love to have jerky to make sure we're getting full value out of them. Try to kill that tree there. Explosion size would obviously be amazing. Also, I really wanted to kill that loot alien. Unfortunately, it got away from me. Let's roll here. I'm looking for percent damage still. Though I will, I think, just take... no, I need to take movement speed. We have negative move speed. I do want the max HP as well, but playing at negative movement speed is just too dangerous on a character like this. That's why we were struggling last wave. The celery tea wasn't great either, but low movement speed meant it was much more dangerous than it would have been otherwise. I don't think I need another celery tea going into a horde wave. We have already 82% bonus XP gain, so I just don't need more. But I will take the spicy sauce. Everything's getting buffed this wave, which is very dangerous for the bull. Starting to take a lot of hits here, so I do need to be a little more careful. The buffing aliens are really risky for us. So, very happy that I picked up that movement speed last wave, because otherwise I'd be taking a lot of damage. And I need to try to hunt down the buffing aliens. They just changed the math on whether you can kill stuff so much, and as the bull, make it harder to get away from those enemies as well. So having them on the field can be really dangerous. Unfortunately, because they run away from you, it can be hard to actually focus them down on this character. Another reason why move speed is so important. Okay, I took an extra hit there that I did not mean to. Let's back off from this mini-boss and heal back to full. This is a surprisingly precarious run. I was expecting after the first, 10 levels, where we were able to recover our percent damage mostly, that it would get really easy, and it's gotten hard again. I'm going to take the 6 melee damage here, because our base damage is actually not that high, so I do want to increase that. Take a spicy sauce. Blood donation, I do not mind taking 1 damage a second, and the 40 harvesting is worth a lot. Cyberball... I could invest in it, but I just don't think that's going to be important to us. On the other hand, I will take a campfire. Another bean teacher, I think, is worth it, even after the horde wave. Normally, you want that for the horde wave, but for this character, I think it's still fine. Lucky charm cost me 3 base damage on my explosions, which is a lot, but 30 luck is also a lot, so I think I need to take that. Compass, there are better ways to get movement speed, but we need a lot of movement speed, so even though a couple of these items are not the most efficient options, we're very happy to have them anyways. And of course, the blood donation triggers our bull explosions as well. That'll make it much easier for us to kill elites and bosses, because we will be able to to damage them without taking hits from them. Okay, taking a lot of damage here, so I do need to be a little bit more careful. Have to back off, because this horde wave is actually starting to put us under a lot of pressure. We're getting kind of overwhelmed. And although the blood donation, our healing outpaces blood donation vastly, it does put us under a little pressure while we're running away. So I had to wait until a lot of enemies grouped up on top of each other, and then I could walk into it with the certainty that I would get some consumable healing out of it. So that's why I was running away so much. A Weird Ghost is safe to buy, and I will buy it because we have 72 regen. So even though we have the blood donation, we heal faster than the damage ticks will happen, so we can buy Weird Ghost even with blood donation. And then I do want more armor, but I think I want more melee damage more. I'll just keep buying regen, though. And then we'll buy all of these items. Mutation, probably worth buying. 2 damage for 74 isn't the best ratio, but it's fine. And I'll definitely take a coupon. Do I want handcuffs? So this is a huge amount of base damage, caps my max HP a little bit on the low side, but I think that's pretty good. A second blood donation, you still only get 1 explosion. When you have multiple damage over time items, they combine, so you'll be taking 2 damage every second in a single instance of 2 damage, rather than 2 separate 1 damage instances. So the second blood donation, we're actually going to skip, because the amount of damage we'd be taking is a little more than we want, and the harvesting is not that important. Yeah, you can see we heal back to full, or not to full, but out of range of the blood donation tick before the blood donation ticks. So whenever you have more than one healing a second, you can buy Weird Ghost, even if you have a damage over time item. This is such a funny run because I went from, I have to take this seriously because it might be really difficult, to I don't have to take this seriously at all because it turns out to be really easy, to back to, actually, we're kind of having some problems, so I have to take it seriously again. The other thing is that, as you can see, explosion damage from the bull counts as a ranged weapon for killing the pufferfish. So the pufferfish on Abyssal Terrors are super, super dangerous for this character. I'll take the HP here, and then I'll take the move speed. Take 9 max HP. We're about to cap our HP, so let's just do that. Capping at 88 HP is a lot better than capping at 79, because around 80 to 85 is what I was hoping for. On a character like this, where you want to take damage constantly, somewhere between 80 and 100 is good, so we got there. We'll take the metal plate and the handcuffs, take the dynamite, and hedgehog is just more base damage. Even at the cost of 1.5 regen, I think that's worth it. Take the coupon. Ugly Tooth doesn't really do anything for us, but Cyclops Swarm is excellent. Insanity I will also take. Scared Sausage we're still passing on, since burning enemies very slowly is not in the plan. What we want to do is kill them very quickly with explosions. I do need to kill that that tower before the mini-bosses show up, because those can actually put some pressure on us. Still would love an explosion size item. That's the thing that we need the most. Oh, I made the Drooly Man angry there. And again. Which, you know, I did break his house, so he has a legitimate grievance. If someone came to my house and farted so bad that my house fell down, I too would be upset with them. I'm gonna take an armor here and then 2 more armor. And we've got so much XP gain this run. I definitely don't need the Scar, so we'll pass on that. Actually, I'm going to take it just for fun. We'll see what level we can get to on this character. We're already level 24. And then if we're doing that already, then we'll take the black belt as well and just maximize our XP gain and take the propeller hat. Even at negative % damage, because I have triple dynamite, our % damage is still bad, but not as bad as it looks. So I can afford to take items like propeller hat. The best item we could find here is probably Jerky, because it would give us so much additional healing. And of course, just explosion size. Anything that gives that would be incredible. 24 extra base damage from the handcuffs means we're now just killing everything. We won't have the type of damage that you often see on the bull, where you end up with, you know, 1,000 damage or so per explosion and just kill the bosses in 4 hits, but we will get enough damage, I think, that we'll be able to kill the bosses in the end game. Gummy Berserker obviously doesn't do anything for us. Range does not affect the bull at all, and attack speed, of course, does not either. I don't need max HP. I could take 4 elemental damage, but I think I'm going to take 9 crit chance. I think that will increase our damage output more. Let's reroll here, and now I'll just take 3 elemental damage. Fried Rice, we don't have a way to set enemies on fire, so it doesn't really do anything. Let's reroll here. We'll take a Corrupted Shard for sure. Glass Cannon I will buy, Celery tea, unfortunately, I just can't afford to take going into an elite wave. So even though we were buying a lot of XP gain, we're not going to take that. I do want more movement speed, so I'll take the Terrified Onion, and we can pass on a second one. Going to 20% move speed, I think, is pretty important, but going higher than that, not that important, and I don't want to lose that much luck. Alright, so this is one of the more difficult elites for us. It does high damage, it's hard to dodge, and it's very difficult for melee characters to stay on top of. If it was an elite that we could sort of hover close to constantly hit it with our explosions, without it charging through or away from us, we would have a much easier time killing it. As is, I don't know that I'm going to have the damage to kill it, though, given that we have wisdom, our damage is increasing a lot. But yeah, I'm just going to have to run away from it, I think. Just took too many hits there, and I'm now under a little bit of pressure. And because this is a wave with a lot of pufferfish, everywhere I go, and mini bosses, everywhere I go, there's so many projectiles that it's hard to stay alive. And you can see we're actually kind of in trouble here. Have to last for 7 more seconds. Suddenly this run got hard. All right, well, we survived. I'm going to recycle the snake here. By the way, given that this run suddenly got difficult, that's almost certainly a sign that I made some mistakes in my shopping. Because that simply doesn't happen like that. If you, usually in Brotato, once a run has become easy, it doesn't get hard again. So if you find that has happened, then it means that you misspent your money. I'm going to re-roll here. I do think that the additional dodge and the glass cannon will help a lot with that. I will take the warrior helmet and the blindfold. Increasing our damage output like that should help a lot as well. Night goggles for 15% crit chance. The crit chance is good, but I think we don't want to reduce our armor any further. Part of the problem we're having is we're just taking too much damage when we take a hit from enemies. Also, it's easy to identify the mistakes that I made when chopping. It was the times when I said, just for fun, we're going to buy all of this XP gain. To, you know, choose one example. So here we're taking a lot of extra damage again, but we should have the consumable heal to stay alive even when moving through these big groups of enemies that do a lot of damage. Curse is also somewhat dangerous for the bull since you have a fairly tight balance between incoming damage and enemy health. Curse throws that off. Yeah, we'll take the dodge here for sure. We'll take blindfold and warrior's helmet. That's great. The defensive stats from those should really help against the bosses. I don't need any of this, really, so let's roll here, and we'll take a lemonade. Baby elephant doesn't really do anything. Mouse doesn't really do anything either at this point, so I will take the cake and the feather. Now with 38% dodge, we should be in pretty good shape to try to kill the bosses here. So normally I suggest trying to kill the whale boss first. As the bull, if you're trying to kill the bosses, which you don't have to. As this character, it's very easy to just stay alive and run away from the bosses. But as the bull, I think you should kill the snake boss first, because it's slower, so you can focus damage on it much more consistently. And then there will be just less to have to worry about when you're fighting the more difficult whale boss later on. For most characters, it's important to get rid of the biggest threat first, but for the bull, it's important to get rid of the one that you can target most easily first. So I need to, again, back off and regenerate a little bit. Though we are letting the number of enemies on the field really stack up. So let's move in here and try to kill the snake boss if I can. I also never found... one of the best healing items for this character is Cute Monkey, which we never found. We did kill the snake boss, so now I can much more easily stay on top of the whale boss, which I don't think we're going to be able to quite kill before the end of wave here, because I, again, have to back off and heal. And there we go. Managed to get a win. Definitely made that a little bit harder than it needed to be by buying some goofy items, but we did end up level 31, so the goofy items did pay off in some ways. Taking a look at our items here, we had very good consumable healing, which helped a lot. Plus 9 meant we were getting 12 HP from every consumable we picked up. Only 81 materials from the recycling machine, so the recycling machine was awful. What else did we end up with? The bag for 150. We had a lot of luck, and recycling machine and bag did not pay off. That means that we got actually quite unlucky. I mean, the bag still, of course, paid off, but nowhere near what it usually does. That means we got quite unlucky on crate drops as well. Definitely a factor in making this run more difficult. The adrenaline healed us for 170, so that was not bad. It could have been better if we'd found more dodge a little sooner, but the adrenaline was fine. The snowball also gave us 3 elemental damage, so it was okay, but not amazing either. Spicy sauce did almost nothing. These might have been something we could have passed on. The wisdom was not bad. The blood donation, of course, helps anytime you're playing the bull. And the coupons saved us only 209 materials between the 2 coupons, because our income simply wasn't that high in the endgame there. So an interesting run that really took a turn in the last few waves and became much more difficult than I had expected it to be. But a fun one, definitely, and a neat combo. Pacifist Bull is not something I'd have really thought about, and it was kind of fun trying to put it together. Alright, my friends, hope you enjoyed this run, and of course, if you have, feel free to leave a comment and hit like. Helps me out with the algorithm, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel for more Brotato and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.